Let's look at it. Matthew 24:37, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So now he's going to compare the days of Noah with what it's going to be like when Jesus comes. For as in the days that were before the flood, notice there's a particular they. They were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So when you read the word them, it took them all away. That's the same group of people in verse 38 that he referred to as they who were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. And they were doing that until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And they didn't know until the flood came and took them all away. So the people that were taken in Noah's day were the they in verse 38 that were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. And they knew not until the flood came and took them. So Jesus coming in verse 37 corresponds to the flood coming in verse 39. The coming of the Son of Man is going to be like it was in the days of Noah. The flood came. And if you're talking about Jesus coming, and there's going to be a comparison with Noah's day and Jesus coming, and then you read about Noah's day that a flood came, well, the flood represents Jesus. And when that flood came, it took the people that were drinking and eating and marrying and giving in marriage until another man and his people until the day that Noah entered into the ark. But Noah is not the they that were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. Noah knew. Noah knew what was going to come. But they who were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage did not know. And they didn't know it until the flood came and took them all away. And so what didn't they know? They didn't know about the destruction. They knew about the destruction when the flood came and took those sinners away. So who was taken in Noah's day? Was it Noah? No. According to the language and the layout, the grammar, and this entire context in which Jesus is speaking, the people that were taken in Noah's day were not Noah and his family, not the righteous people, the sinners. They were eating and drinking in marriage and giving in marriage, and they knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall it be also in the coming of the Son of Man. So knowing, not Noah, not the righteous people were taken, just like the flood parallels Jesus because the flood came and Jesus would come. Well, the people taken parallel the people that would be taken in Jesus' day. People taken in Noah's day were taken by the flood. They were the sinners. So obviously, it's got to be the same as it was in the days of Noah. If it's as it was in the days of Noah when the Son of Man came, and Noah wasn't the one taken, the sinners were taken, and they were taken in judgment and death, then the taking in the coming of the Son of Man has also got to be a taking in judgment and in death, and it can't be referring to the righteous people. So there, the word they, that's the sinners who are taken. So let's look at the ones who are taken in Christ's day. Verse 40, then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. So, by the way, in the days of Noah, if the sinners were taken, then who was left? Noah. And when it says that he was left, in what way was he left? He was left alive. He survived the destruction and the wrath. The sinners were taken out in judgment and wrath, and the flood destroyed them. So, if we're applying that to the days of the coming of the Son of Man, the one that's in the field and is taken has got to correspond to the ones who were taken in Noah's day. The sinner is the one that's taken in Jesus' coming. And the other is left like Noah was left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. One shall be taken and the other left. It's comparing sinners being taken with righteous people being left alive, thank goodness, with Noah's day, when sinners were taken in Noah's day and Noah was left alive. So this whole concept they're coming off with, that left behind is a bad thing, is absolutely the opposite of what Jesus was actually saying. You want to be left behind in whatever this coming of Jesus is talking about, because if it's going to be like it was in the days of Noah, Noah was left alive, and the sinners were the ones taken, not in a rapture. They were taken in destruction. And that's why these verses in verse 40 and 41, it's not talking about a rapture taking people away. It's talking about destruction taking people away, like the wrath of God. The flood came in destruction. Jesus is coming in destruction. The people that claim this is talking about the rapture of the church, the resurrection, it's not Jesus coming in destruction. It's Jesus coming to take them out of this world. And they believe that when this is fulfilled in our future, there's not going to be, when Jesus raptures the church before the Great Tribulation, there's no wrath of God killing and destroying people when the rapture takes place. When they teach using these verses, they're not saying that this coming of Jesus is wreaking havoc and destruction on people. But Jesus is saying that it was the case because the sinners were taken in destruction by the flood. And if the flood represented Jesus and the days of Noah were going to be like it is in the coming of the Son of Man, then Jesus, represented by the flood, is coming to destroy sinners and not touch the righteous and leave them left behind, surviving all of that destruction. Now, isn't that amazing when you actually compare the days of Noah with the coming of the Son of Man? People just haven't read that carefully enough. So if sinners were taken in destruction by the flood in Noah's day, it must be the sinners that are taken to destruction at the coming of Jesus.